he deserving around for the time of the charge, the accused pleaded not guilty. I'm telling you 100 times that I have killed the deceased. The judge recorded the statement of the accused, heard the arguments of both the sides, the prosecution as well as our argument, and sentenced him to death. He was awarded death penalty. The matter went in appeal in the High Court. I was arguing in the High Court. I pointed out to the High Court that, my lords, if you see the manner in which the incident occurred, and that in the statement under 313, he told the court that 100 times I am telling you I have assaulted. All this shows that he was not of a stable mind. He was of unsound mind. There is a disease called schizophrenia. In that disease, a person may appear to be normal at a given point of time. And after some point of time, he becomes violent. He doesn't understand what he is doing during that bout of schizophrenia. And therefore, I was arguing that it might be a case of schizophrenia, although we did not have any medical evidence at the time of the trial. In fact, the accused was taking treatment of a Ayurvedic doctor 1 year prior to the incident, but he did not give that instructions to us. So I was arguing. I came to know about it later on. Therefore, there was no evidence laid by us on that point during trial. But I was still pointing out to the High Court because court can gather from attending circumstances, and therefore I was pointing to the High Court that it could be a case of schizophrenia, and therefore you may not be of unsound mind. The court remanded the case, High Court, Honorable High Court, remanded the case back to the Sessions Court at Satara and directed the Sessions Court to record the statement under 313 afresh and the arguments afresh. So the case went back to Satara. We went back to Satara Sessions Court. The statement of the accused was recorded again. We argued the case. Thereafter, the court changed the sentence and awarded imprisonment, life imprisonment to the accused. So from death penalty, it came to life imprisonment. Again, the appeal was filed in the High Court. We again went in the High Court. Again, when the arguments were going on, it was a different bench. I again pointed out the court that it appears that it is a classic case of schizophrenia. A person may appear to be normal at a particular time and he may have become violent at other point of time. And therefore, all these instances go to show that sometimes he used to be normal, sometimes he used to be abnormal and violent. And therefore, this is a case of schizophrenia, and therefore he should be given benefit. Thereafter, after arguing for quite some time, the court suddenly stopped me. Mr. Nimbalkar, forget about schizophrenia. We are of the opinion that this is not a case of murder, but it is a case under section 304. His intention was not to commit murder, and therefore we reduce the sentence from life imprisonment to 7 years imprisonment. And therefore they reduced the imprisonment to 7 years. He was already in jail for more than 5 years. So within 1 year, he came out. So it depends on the luck of the client also. But you should always try to develop the case in cross-examination and take a proper defense. And you definitely get benefit of the same. Now, the next defense that we can look into is grave and sudden provocation. This is also a very valid defense many a times. Here also, the burden is on the accused to show that there was grave and sudden provocation. Remember, it is grave and sudden provocation. Sometimes the provocation may be grave, but it may not be sudden. if there is a time lapse between the provocation and the incident, then it is not a sudden provocation. Then you may not get the benefit of this defense. Sometimes it may be sudden but not grave enough. There also you will not get the benefit of this defense. Therefore, it should be both grave as well as sudden. You may be knowing a famous case of Nanavati, the naval officer. In that case, it was held that it was grave but not sudden, and therefore he was convicted. Now, take for example a case: if the accused decides to go to Mumbai from Pune, he leaves his house, tells his wife, "I am going to Mumbai," along with his bag, etc. He is going for 2 days for some function, marriage function, etc. He goes to the railway station. He misses the railway. He thinks that he'll go on the next day morning, comes back to his house, and he sees his wife and her paramour. They are on his bed embracing each other. Then there the provocation is grave. If he immediately reacts and assaults the paramour, then he may be within his right, and he may have the defense of grave and sudden provocation working in his favor. But if after some hours, but at that time he says, doesn't uh, pay attention to it, and after some hours, if he goes and assaults and kills the paramour, then he may not get the benefit of the defense of grave and sudden provocation. It was grave, all right, but it was not sudden because time had passed in between, and therefore that defense may not be available to him. Sometimes you can also take the defense of drunkenness. It is rarely taken, but that defense is also available in a criminal trial. A person may be in a drunken state and he may not know the consequences of his act. Then he may take the defense that under the influence of alcohol, this incident has occurred. But remember, this defense of drunkenness is available only if it is involuntary. It is for you to show to the court. Burden is on you to show that it was involuntary, that somebody forced you to drink. It was forced upon you, or uh, you were defrauded in being intoxicated. Voluntary intoxication cannot be a defense. And therefore, this defense can also be a valid defense during trial. So many defenses can be taken directly or can also be taken alternatively. Now, in a criminal trial, as I told you, first information report is also very important. Now, if there is a delay in lodging the FIR, you can take advantage of it. In many cases, we take advantage of the delay in lodging the FIR or the first information time. There are a number of Supreme Court judgments that prompt lodging of FIR is of utmost importance in a criminal trial. If there is delay in lodging the FIR, then the prosecution has to explain the delay, and the court has to believe that the delay was plausible in that case. But if you can show to the court that the delay was a deliberate delay and the prosecution witnesses or the complainant was trying to buy time to implicate the accused, trying to find out who the assailants are, and ultimately have, due to rancor, they have named the persons from the rival parties or enemies as well. You can always show that. Recently, I had conducted a case at Sholapur, maybe in 2018 or 19. It was a case of gruesome murder. There were 6 accused. One accused was not directly concerned with the incident. He was merely taken as a conspirator. The other 5 accused were directly involved in the incident. The prosecution case was that the disease and the other eyewitnesses, they were playing cards in a room in a dilapidated hospital, a civil hospital. It was a village. It was a place in Mohor district. It was a village. There, the primary health center is there, but it had shifted to its to a new place, and this was the old uh, hospital which was not used, and therefore these jollies were using it for playing cards. The case of the prosecution is that while they were playing cards, these five accused went there under the pretext that they were went to observe the game of cards. Three accused persons were armed with weapons. Two were having swords and one was having sattur. They kept the weapons behind them and were standing there in the door, near the door of that room. The other two accused were not armed with weapons. After about 5 minutes, when the game of cards were going on, they suddenly started assaulting the disease. Three of them assaulted, two with sword and one by sattur. The disease, all the blood came out, etc. The disease were lying yeah, in the blood. There were profuse bleeding. The accused ran away. While the accused were going out from the hospital premises, the case of the complainant was the uncle of the disease. According to him, he was coming there in the hospital premises in order to take the disease to some place for their personal work. And at that time, he saw these accused coming out along with the weapon and their clothes stained with blood. Thereafter, it is the case of these eyewitnesses also thereafter went, and they went to their house. This complainant saw the disease lying down in the injured condition, went to the house of the deceased, told his brother, who was the father of the disease, about the incident, came back at the place of the incident in the gate of the said hospital. One of the eyewitnesses also came there. They had a talk about the incident, etc. But neither the complainant nor the eyewitnesses informed to the police, which are hardly about 10 kilometers from the place of the incident, about the incident. They did not telephone there, did not go to the place of the incident, etc. But one of the eyewitnesses had informed the police on phone, and the police had reached there at the place of the incident. Now, while reading the charge sheet, I told you have to read minutely. I found one station diary entry. That station diary entry was there, in which it was written that अनोळखी लोकांनी मैतावर वार करून त्याचा खून केलाय. And this information was provided by one of the witnesses. His name was there. Therefore, the police had come on the spot. The police carried out the spot panchanama, took the dead body. At that time, this complainant, who was also inimical to the accused persons along with the disease, does not disclose anything to the police. One of the witness and the complainant accompany the police and the dead body to the hospital. The inquest panchanama of the disease is drawn in the hospital, the civil hospital at Mohor. They do not disclose about the incident. No FIR is taken. In the evening, for the first time, the incident is in the morning at about 10:30, 11. In the evening, for the first time, the complainant goes to the police station and lodges the complaint and names these five persons and the sixth person as a conspirator to the police. Now, therefore, we cross-examined the witness on the conduct that you did not inform the police at the spot in the hospital when the inquest panchanama. At the inquest panchanama, he identifies the dead body. The other eyewitness says that from the place of the incident, when he came back on the gate, met the complainant and the father of the disease and went somewhere. and his statement is recorded after 3 days of the incident. But we found out from the station diary that he had informed the police on phone that he was not ready to disclose in the court. We had to get it proved from the station diary, from the police officer, and therefore we could point out the court that the first information report is a false and fabricated document. The informant was trying to buy time. He was not knowing the assailants. The eyewitnesses were also not knowing the assailants. They were planted eyewitnesses. And later on, they have prepared a false story and implicated the accused who were on inimical terms. And we succeeded in that case, and all the accused got acquitted. So, therefore, you have to take a proper defense, take the defense in line with the prosecution story. Remember, the defense is normally available in the prosecution case itself. Do not go far away from the prosecution case. If your defense is in line with the prosecution case, the courts are more inclined to believe the defense. Then something which is very strange, or sometimes some strange and tangent defense is taken, which is not borne out from the facts of the prosecution case. So mostly the defense is available in the prosecution case itself. Even if you take a particular plea or some positive defense, even then you go with the prosecution line, prosecution story to a large extent and then deviate. Only then the court will be more inclined to believe your defense. All this, of course, comes with experience, but you should try hard. Remember, friends, you always have to try hard, more so during your earlier days. I will tell you that about 3 C's and then 3 H's. When I was junior in my practice, one senior colleague told me that if you want to get an order in your favor or a judgment in your favor, try to take advantage of 3 C's. The first C is try to convince the judge. If you cannot convince the judge, he told me, confuse the judge. And if you cannot confuse the judge, then corrupt the judge. Now, after my practical experience, I found that this is not the correct way of practice. In fact, I would like to tell you that forget the third C totally. Never corrupt the judge. Because if you corrupt the judge, not only you corrupt the entire legal and judicial system, but you corrupt yourself also. And you may be a loser in life if you corrupt yourself. You may lose the sympathy of the courts, you may lose the sympathy of your colleagues. So also, do not confuse the judge. Because if you confuse yourself also, and a confused judge may give a confused judgment or confused order, which may not be in your favor. And in any case, in the appeal, you may not succeed. And therefore, try not to confuse a judge, but use the first C. Try to convince the judge. Convince the judge with the knowledge at your disposal. Convince the judge with hard work and integrity. Friends, hard work and integrity always pays. In fact, I will try to tell you to remember 3 H's. The first H is honesty, which I have always used in my practice. Be honest to your client. Be honest to your brief. Be honest to the judge. Be honest to your adversary. And be honest to yourself. Honesty always pays. Secondly, hard work and integrity. During your initial stage of your practice, it is only hard work that would pay. Hard work and integrity are very important virtues. The more hard work you pay, the more benefits you will get in your practice, and you will be successful in your practice. And the third H is humility. Humility is a great virtue, a great asset. Be humble. Humility, if you have got touch of humility in you, it will not only help you to be successful in your practice, but it will also help you to be successful in life. Thank you very much.
Uh, thank you very much, sir, for sharing your life experiences and explaining the defenses available to the accused in a criminal trial. The participants have greatly benefited from your experience and will have now approached the criminal trial in a different manner. They will try to find out the defense from the charge sheet itself. Thank you very much, sir. And to everybody, all the participants, the BCMG would like to uh, thank everybody because it is your participation which makes this program successful. So please continue participating. Uh, and now I request our coordinator Shabnam Kazi madam to express vote of thanks to Harshad Nimpalkar sir.
Thank you, Sujit. Honorable Chairman, Vice Chairman, Sir, other esteemed members of Bar Council of Maharashtra and Goa, our eminent speaker, Sri Harshad Nimbalkar, Sir. It's my honor to propose vote of thanks for today's inaugural lecture of CLEP online lecture series. It was indeed a privilege for all of us to have heard and witnessed Advocate Harshad Nimbalkar, Sir, who has, through his varied knowledge, made it simple for us to understand the niceties of the defenses which can be taken in a criminal trial. These tips given by Sir are imbibed and surely will be used by us in our regular practice. The three H, that is the honesty, hard work and integrity. I, on behalf of the Bar Council of Maharashtra and Goa and all of us here, extend our gratitude and thank Sir profusely for having spared his precious time for being with us and sharing his experiences. I also thank all the participants for giving us the overwhelming response and providing us with insightful information for the forthcoming lecture. Thank you, Sujit.
Thank you, madam. To all the participants, tomorrow the lecture will be at 11 a.m. The same ID and the same password which was there for today's link can be used tomorrow. It is a recurring meeting. So tomorrow 11 o'clock the meeting, the lecture will start, and you can join from 10:40 onwards. To 10:40 the link will be open for joining. 10:40 join. Tomorrow a very eminent speaker from Mumbai and leading criminal lawyer. Uh, will be there. So please, Sudeep Pazbola sir, so please make full use of the opportunity. Join tomorrow at 10:40 onwards, 11 o'clock the lecture will start. Uh, so Chairman sir, can we end today's meeting?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so thank you all and we'll ending today's meeting. Thank you.